Hi everybody, welcome back to Read and Reread. My name's Angelia and today it's time for Friday Reads on October 14th. All right, so first of all, this week, let's see, TV shows, nothing new, still watching Better Call Saul and the Great British Baking Show, which should have a new episode tonight. Last week's episode was not their finest episode, the Mexican episode in which they struggled mightily to produce tacos, which how is that even baking? I'm not sure, but the sight of them trying to make guacamole and pico de gallo was kind of disturbing, especially the lady that tried to peel the avocado like a potato. But I guess it was a learning experience for them at any rate. But and then we're still like really obsessed. We're up to season 5 with Better Call Saul, except what I really wish, I kind of wish I could see an edit of the show that took out all the plot side of the drug cartels, because it's just like so many boring scenes where the men of the two sides or the three sides or whatever it is of the drug dealers, they all come together and then they stand around and glare at each other and posture and threaten one another, and it's boring. It's like, get back to Saul. Like, he's complicated and interesting, and Kim, and I don't care about the other people. All right, so anyway, but I know it's all like, the understory of Breaking Bad, so you're kind of stuck with it. But anyway, that's television. Books. So I kind of broke my own, it's not a rule, it's just sort of my habit that I'm kind of a one book at a time reader. But I also wanted to start bringing in, continuing with the reading of some short stories on the side. So what ended up happening is I've been reading the Moonstone all week, and I'm almost, well, I don't know if I'm almost done. I'm like 3/4 of the way through. I think there's about 100 pages left. So I guess I'll finish this this weekend. And I've really been enjoying the Moonstone. I'll talk about it next week when I have actually finished it. But, or maybe I won't, because I think we're going to be out of town next Friday. But I might do my video early. But, Moonstone, even though it's a big old hefty kind of a book, it's still kind of a light and fun read. So I've been enjoying it a lot. I'll talk about it when I'm all the way done. But I've been having fun rereading this book for Victober. I'm doing much better with this than I did with the 3 Men in a Boat, which was teeny tiny. But, you just can't tell sometimes. The longest book is fast and engaging, and the shortest book might as well be 1,000 pages long if it's just not doing it for you. So I'm having a good time with the Moonstone. But what happened was, so on the side, I was like, well, I want to read some short stories on the side. And so where I thought, well, I'm going to start by coming back to Stories from the Tenants Downstairs by Sidik Fofana. And I had read the first story and included it in my Shorty September, but I wanted to come back and read another story. And so in this book, the way it is structured is that every story, and if you look at, you can see the table of contents, every story is narrated by a different tenant at the Banneker Terrace Apartments in Harlem. And this is an apartment complex that is, all the residents are in danger of being evicted because the building was sold to new owners who are wanting to upscale it, remodel it, raising the rents way above the price point of these residents, and so the neighborhood is getting gentrified. What happened to me was I came back and read the second story, and then I got sucked in, and I ended up actually reading the whole book. And so I finished this book even though I am still reading the Moonstone. So my story on the side thing was a fail, but it was a win because I really enjoyed this book. So as I said, each separate story is a different resident, but a lot of people appear in the other stories because they all live in this same apartment building. Some of them have lived there for generations, and so the recent events of people getting notices and threats that they're going to be evicted is shocking. Some people are just kind of, they're almost like in a paralysis because they don't know what to do about it. And so they're just ignoring the notices. There's a group of ladies that is sort of a action committee that's trying to help people get it together and maybe, fight back against it and not get evicted, but it seems like might be a lost cause. And there's just a lot of, when you hear the stories of the different residents, they all have issues with, rent and housing and jobs. And then they have the other things that come up, just, life issues with relationships and family problems. And, this is what, it's so vivid, and I really enjoyed it, even though it's people that are living a very different life from my own, which is one of the joys of literature, of course. But my favorite story in the book was Ms. Dallas, who is Verona Dallas in Unit 6B. And Ms. Dallas is a woman who has a daytime job as a special ed paraprofessional in a middle school near the apartment complex. And at night she works as a baggage screener at the airport. And this book, I can't talk today. This story really was very realistic to me because my career was in public education. And although I never did work in a school like this one, which is a middle school in Harlem, I have worked in middle school and elementary school, and I have worked with a lot of really dedicated paraprofessionals, and they are not paid well, and they have second and third jobs. And her story of trying to help at school, her sense of professionalism and her sense of what it means to be a good educational aid to the children that she's serving versus what she is witnessing and hearing in the classroom and in the building, and her kind of conflict with Mr. Broderick, who is a young white first-year teacher from Harvard. And, do not ask him why he's there, because there is a sore point that is never quite explained. And the two of them butt heads in the classroom. The kids pick up on all of this. And the story is just a little gem of what it is like to work in public school. And on the side of all that, she's got her own problems with her kids and her apartment and rent issues and the exhaustion of working all day and all night and, all of these things. So that one, and then also another story called Light Feet, which is entirely written in the form of a letter written by one of the middle school students to his friend's mother. That one was just emotionally devastating. But the collection as a whole, once you read a couple of stories, you start to get hooked in and begin to care about these residents and think about how stories like this are playing out in so many cities and so many neighborhoods where, the changes that are taking place from the outside, it may look like, oh, this neighborhood's getting all cleaned up. Look how nice it looks. Look what they did with the building. But that's also the story of hundreds of people losing their homes and having dwindling choices about what to do next. So Stories from the Tenants Downstairs by Sidik Fofana. I really enjoyed it. And so I don't know what's going to happen to me this week when I try to read side stories, but I like some of the places that those detours end up taking me. All right, so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to finish the Moonstone. Also coming up this week, this is kind of my reading plans. I am going to refresh my memory of Frankenstein. I read it last year. I've read it a couple of times in my life, but I reread it last year when I got this lovely edition from my daughter. I think I got this last year for my birthday, and then I read it because that's a good one to read in October. And I'm in a banned book club at the public library that reads banned classics, and this is the book that they are reading and the meeting's coming up this week. So I'm just going to sort of, I'm just going to skim through, but I have a pretty good memory having read it recently. But that's sort of on my book docket, even though I'm not going to like totally reread it. Also, I'll put a picture up because I haven't picked it up. There's a book that's waiting for me to pick up today at the library called Counterfeit by Kristen Chen. And I don't know a ton about this book, but this was selected by my real life book club that I'm going to try to zoom into this week. I'm the one that moved away, but this is my longtime club that I've been in for, I don't know, how long have we been? Like 25 years or something. So it's before any of us had kids, and now those kids are all like in high school and college. But anyway, that's the book that they chose. I didn't attend or zoom into the last meeting, and they chose this book, and I put in for it at the library, and it just came up, but they're meeting Monday night. So they have told me it's a fast read that I can breeze through it if I go and get it. So I'm going to go pick it up today and check it out. But it is apparently the story of a Chinese American woman who appears to be very successful. She is a lawyer, her husband's a doctor, they have some kids, but everything's kind of falling apart in her personal life. And she gets back in touch. I guess her old college roommate reaches out to her that she hasn't seen in 20 years. The other woman dropped out of college, and I think she doesn't know whatever happened to her. But it turns out that woman has begun a empire in counterfeit goods that are like upscale luxury handbags and things like that, made in China and then imported and sold counterfeit in the US. And I guess they get together and they do this business. So I'm gonna pick that up and see and try it out. Also, okay, so then I'm in this dilemma where in 1 week we go on a trip. This is our 30th anniversary celebration trip, and we're going to Washington, D.C., where we went for a very short weekend trip when we actually did get married. And we've been back there since. We took a family trip with our daughter when she was in elementary school, but we haven't been there for quite a few years, and we haven't been there as just a couple doing exactly what we want to do in a really long time. So from a short list of places that we were interested in going on this vacation, we decided to go to Washington, D.C. and hit all of those nerd things that we love. All the Smithsonian stuff in the museums and attractions and monuments, and I want to visit some independent bookstores, gonna try to hit some vegan restaurants. So we have a trip planned out that starts next Friday. So I have that thing where you're gonna have a time gap where you have time to read something, you don't know how much you'll read, and then you're trying to save something for your trip. So I'm saving this book for the trip, Kindred by Octavia Butler, and I talked about that in another video. Several people said yes, this would be a good one, and it's also just kind of, this is a portable book, so this would be a good one to bring along. I think I'm just gonna bring that because if I somehow run out, I'll buy another book while I'm there, because that would be a fun problem to have if I had to go get a book. And then, but in between, I have 2 books that I might read this week, which is Hamnet, which didn't make the cut the last time I was about to start a book, but I'm really, really kind of ready to read it. And then also, I have the new Kate Atkinson book, Shrines of Gaiety, which my daughter gave me this year for my birthday, which was last week. So, I mean, she always, she listens well, and she knows what Mama wants. So she got me this book. So, and they, you know what, they have a kind of the same sort of look, don't they? So probably I will speed read Counterfeit and then try to read one of these over this week after the Moonstone, before the trip, and Kindred comes out on the airplane. So that's the plan. can let me know if I need to make alterations in this plan. I'm a little nervous about, I might get a couple of magazines to kind of fill the hole, because sometimes when I'm on a plane, I can't focus and I want to read a magazine. So anyway, that's what I have in mind. That's what I'm reading, what I'm getting ready to read. I hope that you had a great reading week as well. And I will be back soon. I have a video planned for probably Tuesday about books with ghost characters. Not necessarily horror books, but haunted books. So that's my next one I'm planning. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.